Do you know which teammate you've spent the most minutes with on the floor so far this season?
Um, nah.
Dort. So Lou Dort,
Okay.
just over 1,000 minutes, but then SGA is second. So Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is the one that I'm most interested in, particularly early in the season. You were pretty open about the fact that you're playing with another guy, likes to have the ball in his hands, can create, can score, and just the idea of playing off ball, which I would assume is not something you've had to do a lot throughout the course of your career. So how has that process been so far?
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of been handling the ball. I mean, with Adelaide last year, I had the ball in my hands for probably 90% of the game. So it's different coming here, but you got to understand the NBA, there's going to be a player like that on every team that's, a star player. And, Shea's an awesome player, one of the best isolation guys in the league. And you can't come in as a rookie and try to take the ball out of someone like that's hands. We want him to, have the ball as much as possible because so many good things happen when he's making plays, for himself, and he draws so much attention that it allows other guys to kind of get off as well. So, I've said it before, but hopefully me and Shea can be together for a long time. So our chemistry is great already, but the more games we play together and more times we spend together, that's only going to grow and hopefully be for the better of our team.
So what has been the biggest learning experience playing off ball, or the biggest challenge, say?
Yeah, just finding other ways to impact the game. I mean, whether it's cutting, screening, being a decoy, whatever it is just finding other ways to impact it. Because when I don't have the ball, it's like I can stand there and kind of just sit there and wait for Shea to have his turn, then I have my turn. But we're both learning now that the better we can play off of each other, the better it's going to be for our team. And we're figuring that out as we go, watching a lot of film, and just trying to find other ways that I can be effective while, the ball's not in my hands.
When you do have the ball in your hands, and scoring has always been something that's been interesting. You've obviously an all-world passer already, but from a scoring perspective, particularly stepping up to the NBA level, how have you found that approach and trying to figure out when is the right time to pass and the importance of being an aggressive scorer?
Yeah, obviously it's different from the NBL. I think the NBA, the big difference is the spacing on the floor. There's a lot more space over here just because big guys can't sit in the key like they can back home. Big 7-footers that sit under the ring, block shots, but here you have to get out of the key. So it allows the lanes to be a lot more open, getting downhill. But it also, helps out with passing because, if guys are going to stay home to shooters and you've got lanes, but if they collapse, then you've got more space to hit shooters. So it kind of goes both ways, hand in hand with scoring and passing. But yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out. It's going to be a learning experience a lot of the time. Picking my spots on the floor, when to attack, when to run on offense, stuff like that. So learning every game and watching film helps with that as well. Just understanding, when the right time is to get downhill and make plays, and when it is to pull it out and get the ball moving and stuff like that.
You've been asked a million times about your shooting, but I'm more curious about what you see from the opposition defensively. And you've seen a lot of different coverages, but if a team is going under the screen or they're dropping back and allowing you to shoot, what is the challenge for you as you continue to figure it out? When is the right time to just let it fly? Because it's not always going to be about the percentages and you knocking down those shots as much as it is potentially the threat that you are going to shoot that shot.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, I've seen a lot of different coverages. Some teams go under, some teams kind of play level, some teams are in drops. So seeing different things it's going to make me play different naturally, just because the coverages are different. So if teams going under, making them pay, stepping into a three. And the thing with me is, I don't lack confidence. So if I miss 10, I'm going to shoot that 11th like I've just made 10 in a row. So confidence has never been a problem for me. And as you said, just different coverages are going to naturally make my game different. Whether I'm getting downhill if they're chasing over, or if I'm stepping behind, shooting threes if they're going under. So, reading the defense, whatever they're doing, I'll adjust my game to.
You spoke about the confidence, and I remember listening to you earlier in the season, and you said that maybe the first 2 weeks or whatever it was, that it was an adjustment. And it's like, okay, well, don't worry about what people are saying. Focus on my own game. How has that path been? Because it's been, 4 months, 5 months since you've been in the NBA. So it seems ridiculous to say that you've already got to that level, but it does seem like you are already starting to feel more comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, comfort comes with, experience. And I think the more games you play, you grow and you learn and understand the NBA game more. So the game's starting to slow down for me. From the first game of the season in Utah, I still remember it really clearly. I was so, sped up and just, hyped and excited to play. I was just everything was like rushing out there, and I was going 100 miles an hour trying to get things done. But now it's like the game's slowing down. I'm kind of playing at my own pace. Outside stuff isn't speeding me up. So that's probably the biggest change from game one to wherever right now. But yeah, I mean, a lot of things you just learn over time, picking little stuff up from all the games you play, different teams you play. But I mean, every night's different because every team's throwing different defensive coverages at you. You got different players to guard. So every night's different, but just learning little things every game is going to help you in the long run.
I want to get into the passing a little bit now. This is a fascination of mine watching you play. Is probably my favorite part of watching you play. I don't know if you've heard people starting to call you the greatest inbounds passer of all time. Have you heard this? Have you heard this getting around?
Yeah, I've heard it.
No thoughts on that title.
I don't know. I didn't even think that was a record to hold.
Well, that's the thing. This is what's so interesting about it. So when I think about inbounds passes, I think of yourself, Nikola Jokic, and probably LeBron as guys that have these memorable inbounds passes. So it's not bad company to sit in. I want to talk about the one against Dallas last week, about a week ago now. So you get the ball down to Kenrich Williams. You've spoken about this in the post game, but the clip that went viral of you with the eyes has obviously caught the attention of a lot of people. My fascination with this is you saying that you kind of went against what the play was, or you improvised, you freelanced. This is what we're seeing. That's a pretty high risk time of the game to decide I'm going to make this pass based on eye contact that may or may not be read the way you want it to. So can you just talk us through that situation?
Yeah. Well, actually, now that you say it, I just remembered, a week before that, we were in Dallas and same situation. I think we ran a play and Shea was meant to pop back up to the three to get the ball. And I tried to fire it through to Muscala and it got deflected and the game was over and we lost. Then that next week or 2 weeks later, we're back in Dallas and same situation. We're down 2 with 8 seconds left and we drew up a play. And I went out there and before I took the ball and I kind of started observing the floor and looking at what, the defense was doing and how they were playing. And before I took the ball out, I saw Kenrich and we looked at each other and I saw Luka just turn his back. And as soon as I stepped out of bounds, me and Kenrich just looked at each other and he nodded at me to throw it. And I just put it right over to the ring and he went there and got it. So me and him have had a good connection on those inbounds passes. And Ted, I didn't, there was a play and I wasn't really sure what it was walking out of the timeout. I was kind of focused on what the defense was going to be doing and if there was going to be a crack in that to exploit. But so if I didn't hit Kenrich, I didn't really know what was happening after that because I was so adamant that I was going to get him the ball. But yeah, just kind of reading the play before it actually unfolds. And me and him have had a good chemistry on that with, a lot of out of bounds passes this year.
So you spoke earlier about the fact that Mark lets you play through stuff. So that's the epitome of letting someone play through something, because if you make a mistake, as we said, the game's over. So when you talk about the leash that you have, and it helps being on a young team where you play through mistakes, but is there a time where he says, okay, we're taking it a bit too far here? What is the leash, keeping in mind that you are still a rookie as well?
Yeah, I mean, there is a leash, but that's probably one of the ends that, he lets me play freely on is the offensive end. Defense, he coaches me hard on, and rightly so. I need to get better on that end. But offensively, he kind of lets me play my natural game because a lot of my game is a bit risky naturally. Some of the passes I throw are probably not a lot of passes that a lot of guys would throw. Just the confidence I have in myself to deliver those passes and stuff like that. We're down 2 at the end of a game, and if I miss that pass, the game's probably over. We lose. So I had to put it right on the money, and I trust myself to make those plays, and I know the consequences if I don't make the play and I turn it over. I know what's going to happen. So, but I have confidence in myself to do that. But yeah, Mark coaches me hard. In general, but he lets me play freely on that end, and that's what makes me play so confidently. And I go out there and play with no fear, and I know he's got my back on that end. And if I make mistakes, the next day we're going to get together, watch film, and kind of learn from it. So he's been great with me.
You said at the start of the season, and this is obviously something that's progressed the longer the season has gone, but the quote was something like, I'm telling the guys to keep their hands ready because I throw some wild passes. Wild passes, I would say that's accurate. That makes sense when I'm watching from afar. How have you found the guys have adjusted to you and your capabilities, and when to make sure they're not getting hit in the face with a ball coming across court from an inbound pass?
Well, I mean, as I said, me and especially Kenrich, that's been the best one for me on out of bounds. Every time we're on the floor together and it's a sideline or baseline, he always knows that I'm going to look for him because he's awesome cutter. His hands are always ready. But all the guys, I mean, I think they know now that I'm going to try and throw passes that the defense is not going to expect, just to catch them off guard. Like there was one in LA where I took it out of bounds and AD was under the ring and Baze was in the opposite corner, and it was the first time I've ever tried that pass, and I just threw it to Baze in the corner, and no one was he wasn't even expecting it, and I didn't know I was going to throw it until I took the ball. So little things like that, I'm sure they're aware now that just kind of be ready, and because look, I don't even know when the ball's going to come to them because I throw some shit that I don't even see happening. So yeah, the guys know now just to have their hands ready.
So you launched that with one pass, that one against the Lakers, one hand, sorry, and you said that one against the Lakers, and I heard you say, I threw it one hand. I could throw it two hands if I want to. Your height at 6'8", this is something that's changed in the game over the course of the last decade. And you think about taller point guards, facilitators yourself, again, Luka, LaMelo Ball, all these guys, Ben Simmons is next level. What advantage does that give you? I always think about Jason Kidd when he was in Milwaukee, one of the greatest point guards of all time, standing on a chair just to try and understand what Giannis can see on the floor. So what advantage does the height give you, and how the game has obviously changed in the last decade?
Yeah, it helps a lot. Obviously, I think I'd speak for all those bigger guards. It just helps being able to see over defenses, because a lot of the times as a point guard, you're going to have someone smaller on you. So just being able to see over the top of them, especially on inbound passes as well, it helps. Being able to put the ball over your head and make different plays. So it helps just in terms of being able to see the floor a little bit higher than what most guards would. Also, the rebounding part helps as well. Being a bigger guard, you can get in there on the defensive boards, and kind of that's where you can start the offense is crashing the glass and then getting out and running. So there's multiple advantages to it, but yeah, I'd say I speak for all guys when I say just being able to see over defenders is a really helpful thing to have.